wants to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina Speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You can hear some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Well, good evening. Good evening, everybody. It is a pleasure to be back with you for another episode of Sabrina Speaks, the podcast. You're getting to know this very well. The podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. I am your host, Sabrina, and it is a pleasure to be back with you on this Wednesday evening. I don't know about anywhere else, but I know it's raining here in Prospect. And I want to ask you to take extra caution on the roadways. Ooh, look at there. Are we looking pretty? We're looking pretty, girl. OMG. Despite the gray clouds outside, look at how bright we are getting ready for the first.
Ready for the first.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So
You're just coming in through the back door like a sniper. Like, what the heck?
Did your thing? I guess because I was back there already. I was going to say
you were already backstage. Yeah, it
Yeah.
didn't tell me you were still lurking. Yeah, but we were, ladies and gentlemen, who's tuning in here, we're working tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure that we're ready, which we were always ready. We were just waiting for official rollout day of September 1st. And again, kudos to Sandra. This woman doesn't stop. Anyhow, she's constantly making improvements to the site. And you can see we have a new branding here. I'll let you know we're live streaming. It has my contact details. And of course, streaming, Sabrina Speaks is streaming on the cmrtv.com. And that goes live on Monday the 1st. So exciting things are happening. And Sandra and I...
We've been streaming there for a couple of months. We've been testing that already.
Yeah, but it's official. And there are going to be other content as well for pretty much 24 hours, right? You can't have dead air, right?
At this stage, possibly, but we're working out how when we get to the final stage, there won't be any.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So all of this branding and all that good stuff. And I know you all have heard me talking about the back is going to change and I got my drapes. Well, look, I had the drapes for 2 weeks. I just wanted to roll out. Yeah, like that. I just wanted to do the installation over the weekend and do some changes a little bit to the back because of the color of the drapes that is going to be there. I don't want that to blend in and it's totally hidden. So I'm going to make some minor adjustments to the back so that when we come officially as of the 1st, you'll see some changes to the backdrop. So yeah. But the flag will remain, but the drapery will change. And I'm going to have some nice little stuff right there. Yeah, even keeping that a secret from you. Nothing major. I mean, we continue to try and improve the space. And I get it. But because of the drapes, it's like 25 feet, I think. I really need long drapes. Yeah. So the ceilings in here is high.
They're high.
Yeah, very high. So I had to get those.
Oh God, the doorbell again. Let me go
for you. But yes. But thank you, Sandra. We can see it's working. And you did it. So you're going to let yourself out as usual. You're like the mother who has the key for the house and you don't know when she's going to show up. Yeah. Anyhow, happy Wednesday, everybody. Look, we got a new, you call that an overlay? And Mitzi, Mitzi, you were first to class. Welcome. Marshall, good evening. Connie, you're third today to comment. When I say first, it's really for those who are commenting. And yeah, but it's good to see you here. Mitzi, know what I started out, and Sandra just creeped in like a sniper. Yeah, so she you see what happened? We were working behind the scenes before I went live. So I apologize for that. And I didn't even realize, oops, now it's gone. So anyhow, Sandra's still there. But yeah, there we go. You will see that popping up, but we see that it's working. Damien Henry, good evening. Welcome to you. And yeah, I was saying, you know, the roadways are going to be very wet this evening as we are in traffic. Schools all went back today, so I know there's going to be a lot of traffic on the roads. The weather that is here is that tropical system that pretty much came into our area. It impacted Barbados weather on the weekend, and a lot of their activities had to actually go indoors, and but it continued. They made it happen. So expect some delays with flights, and I'm quite sure if we get any updates from the airlines, we will bring that up to speed with you. But right now there's a lot of thunder and there are a lot of clouds. This weather is going to be over us tonight, possibly into tomorrow, and may actually go into early weekend. So it's like two systems from what I can recall. Tropical lows, they're not expecting it right now to develop into anything, one of the two systems, but it could develop into the Gulf, which would mean after it passes us and heading up north. So we're blessed so far that this season we have been spared, but you know, it only takes one. But right now, in real time, what's happening is real. And we just want you to be careful. You know, these rains, the first showers of rains makes the roadways very slick. And it is peak traffic now. So I want to ask you to take special caution. But do care and pay attention on the roads. But yes, into the nitty gritty of things. If you're loving the content that is shared here in this place, please share and subscribe. Follow us as well so that you're not able to miss an episode. And we're streaming live on all CMR, Facebook, and YouTube, Instagram platforms. And you can also follow myself directly on YouTube at Sabrina Speaks. That's the @ Sabrina Speaks, the number 12. And also you can find me on Facebook, Sabrina Turner, and that's the one that says community activist. And I want to thank all of those who have already done that. So they're not missing an episode. But the number here is 936-8255 to join in on the discussions. And we're asking you we love your participation, but be cognizant that other people may actually be wanting to join in the conversation. So I don't mind if you have 2 questions, but the preambles don't help. It just makes sense to just get to your point out of respect for others. Now, once the phone lines are open, I welcome you, but just be cognizant of that, please, that others may be waiting. And I don't want to be rude, but I'm learning how to be polite in wrapping it up. But I do not want to discourage persons from engaging in this platform, but just be mindful that other persons are waiting. And if you could be as concise as possible so that we're able to field a lot more calls. But I want you to call in. I want you to engage. I want you to participate. Just bear in mind that there may be other persons as well trying to get through. Okay. But the content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself or guests and or participants, are intended solely for general information and entertainment purposes. It is not the substitute for professional, legal, or medical, even financial advice. And I would like to encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for any specific concerns. Sabrina Speaks disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented here. But yes, as people continue to build in this space, I hope you see what today's topic will be. And it's just me. I don't have anyone in studio with me. Sandra is behind the scenes because we continue to work to improve the space as we get ready for Monday, the 1st of September, as CMRTV.com rolls out officially. But I will be sharing, putting some spotlight on stories and complaints that have come to me by a number of individuals, and it's specifically in regards to the construction industry, how workers in that industry are being treated, and defining or hoping we can clear the air in being able to identify unscrupulous employers. And kudos for those who are following the books. But your participation is appreciated if you're someone who is subjected to whatever's going on in that particular industry, especially, or any industry. We're going to also share contact information for the Department of Pension and Labor and Pensions. And there is a confidential hotline as well that we will be sharing all of that information with you. But Ms. Marjorie, hi, it is a pleasure to have you with me again, as usual. Allow each person one call and time them also. I'm really hoping that I don't have to get to that, because really and truly, some of the information and some of the calls that I get is, once it's relevant and topical, unless it's an open mic segment, it warrants bringing it from a different perspective. But I do get what you're saying. And if it gets to that, I'd be more than happy to implement that system out of respect. You can see that I was going, that we're going into 7 o'clock. That's definitely practice for me. But what is key is that you stay with me. That is the key. Your engagement with me means that I'm actually bringing sound topics and we're able to exchange. I'm able to share information, and it's coming from an informed perspective, getting your views, which is always critical to the success of this platform. So I want to thank you all for your continued support, for all of the, even those who view after we have no longer streaming live. You're appreciated. And by all means, you're still free to comment, even if you come on after the fact. And you're feel free to send me a WhatsApp or an email. 9368255 is WhatsApp. And email Sabrina Speaks, the number 12 at gmail.com is the email officially for this show. So let's get right into it this evening, because I think that this is very important, and especially to the stories that have been shared directly to me, and even calls received. We may see, hi Lily, welcome. Hope you all are keeping dry. And if you're commuting and you're listening to us, not looking at the phone, that you're making sure that you're safe on the roads. But you know, when it comes to, hi Barbara G, and to everybody else, yeah. The sounds of progress, and when we look at the construction industry, the sound of progress in the Cayman Islands is definitely unmistakable. And everywhere I can recall being on the 5th floor back in the day of political office, and I could look out the window, how my office was on the end, at the very end. I oversaw the police station, Radio Cayman, and I could look on another side and I can see the West Bay Peninsula, pretty much the strip. And for the amount of cranes, I can remember one time looking out and it must be about 5 or 6 cranes. And it was amazing as a child raising up in Georgetown, reminiscing on what the skyline looked like. But, you know, when you go out and you see those cranes, and my grandmother's property is still right next to 1 GT right now, literally butt and bind with 1 GT. So I know from when the groundbreaking happened to now that they're actually finishing the works right there, that has been this monster that has just happened in my grandmother's backyard. And when I say what I'm about to say, about the humming of the cranes, that's real. I understand the humming of the cranes, the rhythmic beats of the hammers and jackhammers, and the steady pour of concrete, and you hear those high machines. You know, it's the promise of, in this case, a new development, but in certain residential area, it's a promise of new homes and stunning resorts. And it's also the promise and growing and thriving of our economy. But as I described, our skyline is really a testament of the talent and dedication of countless men and women that comprises both of locals and expatriates as well. So these people actually work tirelessly to build our nation. And no matter what stage of a development project that these individuals come at, they are still the backbone of that industry. But what if, you know, I told you that even some of these workers based on stories that I'm aware of from my days of an enforcement officer investigating certain cases. And even now in this space, that people realize we are a platform to air what's out there. What if I told you that some of these workers, that these bright and new buildings cast a very dark shadow on what a life is in the day of somebody in the construction industry? And this afternoon, this episode, I would like to share some of the stories that have been shared with me, some that's happening as we speak, and get your feedback as well on some of the stories that have been shared, or that experiences that you know that that is happening to persons working in the construction industry, with hopes that this would be able to, what I would describe as, pull back a curtain on the side of that construction boom that few people want to talk about. And the reason being is that many of these persons who are adversely impacted by the behaviors of unscrupulous employers are those who are visiting our shores, skill sets are in low demand, and really they're taken advantage of. So we're going to, I plan, or I hope that we are able to talk about good faith employers as well, who are actually doing the right thing and paying their staff fairly and ensuring that safety is paramount. But we're also going to discuss the illegal and unethical and sometimes downright heartbreaking practices of others who seem to be getting away. And I want to be discussing even unpaid wages, the lack of health insurance, unsafe working conditions, and the fear of deportation, or the hanging loom of a work permit that hangs over so many of these very skilled laborers that are imported, because we just can't supply the workforce ourselves with our own locals. But that doesn't give us a free pass to treat them any less than human beings. So this isn't just about business. It's really about people. And I'm hoping that today's edition of Sabrina Speaks will put a light that it's about the human costs that we as a community can no longer afford to ignore. And one of the most recent heartbreaking stories that were shared with me is that an individual's partner fell ill on a job site, was unable to perform their duties, and pretty much life-threatening, could be, if not properly cared. You're hearing me? Yeah, there we go. The partner was unable to fly to go and be with the husband. What tore at my heart is because even though the partner was ill and could not attend work, the reason why the well partner could not leave work and go to be with their spouse is because if they don't work, they don't get paid. And I says, well, no, that doesn't make sense. You're entitled to compassionate leave, but then how are we going to pay rent? How are we going to pay the light? So my question then went on to what happened about a possible second opinion. Can't go because we've exhausted the insurance. And my partner wants to go back to work even though one is not well, because even though they're ill, their employer says, you don't get paid if you don't work. Now, this is not an individual who's on probation. This is someone who's on a work permit, who is ill, not following doctor's orders, not getting the proper care, could lead to death possibly on a job site. And I had to look at it. And I had to really, coupled by another call that I got describing a poor work environment, to the point where there are employees right now who may actually end up into fights because the toxic air on the job site is not conducive to the point that it's becoming miserable, but yet the work has to get done. And people may hear the term unscrupulous employer and don't even be able to identify it. But what does an unscrupulous employer look like in practice? An unscrupulous employer, if you don't understand it, is someone who pretty much failure to provide written employment contracts, non-payment of wages and overtime or holiday pay, illegal deductions from paychecks. And when I say illegal deductions, meaning they're deducting pension and you don't have no proof that they're paying pension, or likewise for medical. Also, failure to pay mandatory pension contributions is against the law. And unsafe working conditions and lack of personal protective equipment, these are all signs of unscrupulous employers. That another sign is threats of permit revocation. And like I said at the opening, deportation for workers if they complain. It is real. It is real out there. And the people are feeling, these workers who are giving so much to this country are feeling that they're on a plantation. They're on a reserve. And is that the environment that we're building? Caller, you're live on Sabrina Speaks. Hello, caller.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. Listening to the thunder in the background, hoping everything holds.
Oh boy. I know it's here too. Hearing it myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to agree with you that as employees, sometimes people could be really hard to the foreigners. And we all got to remember that we're all human beings. I know some that have come, and when they tell you the hard story,
Mm-hmm.
it pains my heart. And we as Caymanians, we never always had it. There were times that things were hard with us, and we were actually helped by other countries, by other people. And we wanted other people, to do good by us and our children. You can't have somebody working. Every year I make sure that I give my employees a little birthday,
Mm-hmm.
something for their birthday. Christmas, because, I'm a small company. I give them one week cake. And I will just go and buy lunch for maybe a week. We got to appreciate people. Because of people coming here, we have been able to live better life. Some of us that have businesses,
Mm-hmm.
we have better life today because of that. And I have to agree. And I pray that we all get to realize we need one another. I saw this thing that really been on my mind. This lady went back to the Philippines. She had a baby there, and she wrote a story. It's on the Filipino community chat, and she praised Cayman for so much that he did for her and the kindness to bestow upon her. She had to leave because the money between her and her partner that was being made, they say they could not keep the child there. Her name is Bella. And she took back Bella, and she now has a page telling people what to be aware of, what to do, what not to do, and the situation that you could find yourself into.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when a child is so young, I agree with her that she picked up and she went back to her island or her country. But in some situation, we could probably even help that person. That kind of way we could probably.
You're breaking up, caller.
Yeah, I said in some situation we could even help that person. You know what I mean? Like maybe say she works with me, I could probably say, okay, I could see if I could raise her pay if she's worth that or whatever, just to keep the baby a little longer. We know that they signed these contracts, but man, give her a little time, see if they could make up the money or whatever. sometimes we're so cold, and I'm wondering if that was me, how would I feel, and stuff like that. And we as employees, we just want them to work. We don't care, and we need to care because let me tell you something. We don't know when the shoe will turn. We don't know when things will change. We don't know what tomorrow may bring. We don't know who we might need, which country, where we may have to go to. We don't stay stable. Today we're stable and tomorrow we're unstable. So I agree with you. And these things hurt your heart. There are people that will not go to the hospital because they have died. Will not go to the hospital has died. They tried to get a plane home. I remember that case, one. And that may be just one of these. Well, by the time she reached to Jamaica, she was dead. That should never happen.
There are cases where there are persons who even go to the hospital and would prefer to be driven and don't even want to sit in a wheelchair because they're fearful that they're going to be charged for a wheelchair.
Yes.
I mean, when you're there supposed to be thinking, I'm here to get better, and you're worried about the type of insurance or the lack thereof, or you can't even go for a test because you've exhausted your SHIC plan, the basic plan, and you have no other way of diagnostic or access to diagnostic treatment. And then not only that, it's legitimate that you are not well, you are not on probation, but your employer says, I'm not paying you, you don't work, you don't get pay. Yet that's what's not declared on work permits. You declare on a work permit that you get, be it $10 an hour, but there are actual legislation in the Cayman Islands that governs you paying someone sick leave. There's the Labor Act of 2021 revision that is there. There's also for safety and occupational safety and health in the construction industry. That's the labor and occupational. So there's legislation. And then there's also the pensions law and the health insurance law. So for
it just hurt my heart, like you said. There's so many laws, but are they being carried out? And sometimes the people don't know they're right. And this is the next thing. I think that they need to learn their right when they come into a country, even though they're on a work permit. I had one that came, and it looked like she came sick. I don't know if she knew to take care of my mom. She dropped down the second that she came to work, and she didn't tell me. So when she dropped down, I saw it. Somebody that lived around there say, but I saw her drop down the other day. This is just to tell you that the way that needs the help. I said to her, we haven't even gotten insurance yet, but you cannot. We have to go to the hospital.
They're scared.
I took her to the hospital. As a matter of fact, I called the ambulance because I didn't know how bad she was because I was around there crying with her and she was gasping for breath. So I didn't want to take the chance and move her. So I called the ambulance for her. I went to the hospital and signed. This is just last year or a year. Yes, last year. I went to the hospital and I signed that I would pay the bill. It just came and didn't have the insurance and I would have to pay the bill. Because I couldn't stay there and make the woman die. And, she got her kids and we don't know. Some of us don't want to take no responsibility, but we would want someone to take that responsibility. But I said to her, you seem to be ill. So what I think you should do is, get yourself looked after, maybe go back home because, my mom is elder and I can't have you to, I didn't let her go just because she was sick, but I need her to be able to function with her job to work and help my mom. So then I tell her that. I said, you need to look after yourself. I think you need to. But the point is, I make sure that she got the medical help she needs. I stand responsible.
But you're one of the good ones, Caller. You're one of the good employers. I mean, the health and the risks of just working on a construction site. And I'm not so sure if you're seeing, but we have some comments on up here from a number of our people and that are commenters. And one is saying, Oh, I want it to be heard by the public that Cayman Brack High School is being mistreated bad. And then another one is the workers that are working here that leave our families and kids back home in Grand to make the sacrifice to come on work and to work on and build. So this was one of the most recent calls that I got that actually sparked this conversation today, because I'm hearing more and more, not only there, more and more complaints about this that is resurfacing. And as you rightfully alluded to, some of the people who are working in the industry are not aware of their rights. We brought up this conversation even with the Department of Labor and Pensions, and I'm going to share it with us here. The confidential hotline, should persons actually feel that they are being mistreated, I'm going to share it. The confidential hotline for the Department of Labor and Pensions, there is a confidential hotline, and I want you all to call this and explain. And there's a reason why it's called a confidential hotline, because it's confidential. And I'm hoping that, you know, that they can actually be able to resolve. But some of the issues that I'm hearing, and this is not just with what the commenter said here on the chat about the Brack High School, but it is where we're finding some of these projects that the biggest unscrupulous employers out there are the subcontractors that are not actually treating their staff properly. And that is a bigger problem, because at the end of the day, you will have the major contractors doing what they have to do, and then they subcontract. And who becomes responsible for the well-being of these persons?
Well, that's the problem. But if somebody's subtracting a worker, I would think that the person that are subtracting that person should have insurance for that person. But then you then that taking them on should ask the person that's subtracting them for the document.
Mm-hmm.
So both of you are, to me, should be responsible. Yeah. The one that's taken, even though I'm contracting a person, you have the permit and you give them to me. I need to say to you, Sabrina, do you have insurance for this person?
Mm-hmm. It's in everybody's best interest. Yes.
Yeah. You understand? Because I'm just as reliable now because I'm taking them on my site.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is also the responsibility of the person that's going to take them on. And then when you ask and they say, yes, I have. And so you, well, if it cancels or something else, you could say, well, I have a copy when they started with me, and here it is. But I think both parties should be responsible.
Right. Right. But it is pretty sad what is coming to me in regards to especially this. And I mean, it is alleged that persons are left, and we know that the BRAC do not have a transport system like we do here. And at the end of the day, people need to be able to be comfortable. And if it's to the point where the environment is not healthy, what's going to happen with the quality of work? And then it begs to then question, maybe this platform is what's actually getting the message out there that something is going on. And you can see by the comments here on the website that they want it to be made public that there's something going on over there at that particular job site in the BRAC. So I'm hoping that government now will actually, or the government agencies will actually take this into consideration, because there are a number of complaints that are coming in that it is an unhealthy relationship that is happening there, and staff are not happy. They are coming from, even though it's another district, they're going over there. We know that the heat over there is a different type of heat than here in Grand Cayman, and being able to just function under those terrains is much different than here. But at the end of the day, bottom line, what we're trying to highlight is the unscrupulous behaviors from the skills and for the employer's responsibility, not holding up their end of the bargain. It's almost like a pay-as-you-go thing, Calder. And that's what's not fair, because we have laws, we have declarations being made that you have to have medical insurance in place, But also, you're entitled to 10 days sick leave. If someone is genuinely sick and you saw what happened to them on the job site, you can't say you're only going to pay them for what hours they were on the site, knowing that they left the site sick. They should be paid sick days.
That's
And
right.
that is not what's
Correct.
happening. If you don't work, you don't get paid, and you're not on probation. That is against the law. And it is alleged that it is this is the subcontractors on this particular job site. And what is happening, it's creating an environment on that particular job site that is not healthy, and there's fears of fights about to be broken out.
There's a lot of things going on here, and I think we'll hear it on Sabrina Speaks. And thanks for the highlights and the things and the changes that need to be made. You know, also I know Sandra do a lot on hers, and this is the purpose of
We just have to get it out there. We're not bashing anyone. We're just making it aware. And when you find persons who are reaching out to platforms like the Sabrina Speaks show, the Cold Hard Truth show, even though we have our own styles of delivering it, it doesn't take away that Houston, we have a problem. There is not enough enforcement. There is not enough oversight. And people should not be going through all of this that we know is a reality if we are saying we're upholding the laws of this jurisdiction.
But Sabrina, I know a guy that came to me. So some of these people that work in immigration and some of the different places that should be looking after the people, they're the problem. Some of the people. This young lady that was working, he was taking out permits for people. This guy came to me and tell me he needed someone to take out permit because this woman was immigration. He was being threatened because she's officer. He's afraid, and how much he got to pay. He wasn't making the money to pay. I said you need to report it. And I heard she called one day when I was there. He didn't want to give me the name, and he called one day when it was there, and she was really rampaging with him. And I said, "Is that a woman you work for?" And I guess she heard me, and she started. He said, "Yes, ma'am." I said, "Well, this the woman at work immigration." So listen, sometimes the people don't have nowhere to go to, so they come in now. And this has to stop by it being aired. It needs to stop pretending like Cayman is perfect. We have our issues just like everywhere else. And we need to clear it up before it gets worse.
Correct.
And we need to speak about it before it gets worse. Yeah, and cut it in the bud so that it stops. So you keep doing what you're doing, MR's doing, and we need more of this, The other radio station, they're just there, just, casual talks and all the things. People need help. They need hope. So continue to be the people hope. Continue to speak on behalf of the people and make Cayman a better place, not just for Caymanians. You keep saying, "Oh, Cayman, I'm one." And
This is for everyone. We have Caymanians that are on these job sites as well. And I know I've spoken to a number of young persons who were given opportunities, let's say in the electrical and plumbing areas for MEP. And a lot of older persons on job sites listen and they see how they treat the apprentice that are Caymanians. And a lot of them are foreigners who are here on work permits and are talking down these young men, and in some cases women, who are given an opportunity to learn the trade. But what they do is mentally frustrate them, picking at everything to get the young people frustrated. And these are true stories that have been shared, where it's not that our young men especially don't want to go into the technical trades. And you're not babying them. You are setting these children or these young men and women up for failure when you're failing them just because they are Caymanian trying. And that is what has been happening on some of these job sites. They are being bullied. on top of the bad behavior of the employers who are just not treating the staff properly or fairly and in accordance to law. They're fearful of going to report it. I know that there were instances where I have been told stories, because you know what I used to do before elected office. I heard that there were persons, in order to actually get their work permit submitted on time, the pool of employees had to put together to pay the boss's trade and business license. One had bought a PlayStation for their child. Can't remember what gender, it doesn't matter. They bought a PlayStation to take home for the Christmas for their child. And they had to sell that console in order to make up the difference of monies that they were taking home for Christmas for that child, so that they could have gotten a re-entry stamp to return to Cayman in the new year. So this is nothing new, but the stories are real, but we're not doing enough to hold these employers accountable.
We do. That should never happen. You should be trying to help them to make sure they get something to take for the kids. Some of them work in that hot sun all day. How could you do that to the next human being? Huh? We got big issues here, and it needs to start that we first have to have compassion one for another, understanding that no one is perfect, understanding that we have the good and the bad in every nation, and we need to understand that we have to have a heart for people.
Yes.
Compassion.
Yes, ma'am. The caller, leave me there. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure. Yes, your feedback is important. And let me just let me read some of the comments that I'm having here. And there are quite a few coming in. I just posted the website. Yes, Jim, thank you for saying that. And I post a main line as well. I've also posted the confidential hotline, which I'll do at the end of the podcast here today. But, Jim says, make all laws, but the laws must be upheld and people must be held accountable, and not just a small fine for these lawbreakers. Jim, you're quite right. But then what happens, or what is the reason why government agencies are not being able to go out there and hold these employers, these unscrupulous employers, accountable? Why? What? There are laws there in place to protect the reputation of our country and also protect the workers. And I mentioned you got the Labor Act, you got the Labor and Occupational Safety and Health Construction Industry Regulations of 2008. Then you have the National Pensions Act, you have the Health Insurance Act. They're all independent legislation that lets people know what their rights are. And if that is a show that we need to do separate, I don't have a problem bringing it here, okay? But what I'm saying, there is protections, there is legislation there that protects persons working. You know your right. And at the end of the day, why is enforcement then a challenge? Is it that these government departments are understaffed? Is it that workers fear of retaliation, possibly losing their job? There are challenges, but complex and lengthy way of complete processes. Maybe some people may be challenged with how they have to write a letter, or even just posting it up there. How confidential is the confidential hotline? Understanding we are a small island, and everybody pretty much knows everyone, to be honest. And when you start, it wasn't hard, as you can tell. I am going based on exactly what was reported to me and stories that I have heard. And these are experiences that I have had with in my former years, which tells me that nothing really has changed. And if we do not start holding people accountable, in my honest opinion, you will have these unscrupulous employers taking advantage of persons who come here and work. And based on the intro, you realize we all have a place in it and people need to be treated fairly. Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks.
Hey, Sabrina, it's Jim here. How are you doing?
Hey, Jim. Yeah, I was just getting down to all of your, you can speak from experience.
I sure can. And one question about the process.
Mm-hmm.
The process is not easy.
You're going in and out. So if you got on a headpiece, just adjust it.
No, I don't have on a head.
Okay.
It might be the weather.
Okay. Yeah. It's really bad out. Go ahead.
No, the process is not easy. The main thing, the workers that you approach, departments, also have to have. If you're just going to verbally,
Jim, it's like every other word you're going in and out. It's almost like you're not speaking directly into your phone, because I have my volume here turned right up.
try calling you back if you want.
Yeah, call me back, my love.
All right.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. We having some bad weather here, but Jim is willing to actually go through the process because he's been a victim himself. He has gone public, and I'm so happy for him actually being willing to share the process with us. Ooh, I just had a dip in electricity. God, just make us just finish this show because it's that important. But yes, Jimbo, you can call back. But yeah, we need to really hold these people accountable. And maybe there is a case where there's a lack of proactive on-site inspections, because the law is there and it clearly outlines the powers of these officers and what rights they can do when they visit a site, what they can do when they actually not only go to a site, but even go through their proof of pensions and proof of salary and pay slips and all of that. It's all outlined there in the legislation. Good evening, Jim. You're live. Let's see if it's better.
Is it any better now?
Much better for now. Yes.
Okay. All right. Yes. It's the whole process. It's each department is own it's no department, other department, the computers are not talking to each other, or I guess privacy, all of privacy.
I honestly don't know. I think the connection is bad. Do you want me to try calling you back, Jim?
You're more than happy.
Okay, I'll call you back. Let me call Jimbo here because he does have valid information to share with us. There we go. Let's hope that's better. Hey, Jim.
Hello.
Hi, Jim.
Hello.
Yes.
Any better?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, it's each department is its own entity, and the computers do not, read back and forth. They're not connected to do that for privacy, and it's Privacy Act.
Mm-hmm.
Each department you go to, you have to pretty much repeat yourself over and over and over again. It's not for the weak of heart.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be strong. You have to be able to stand your ground. You have to be able to have your receipts. You have to have documented proof.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out of your mouth, just going there and telling people in these departments what is going on is not going to get you anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a paper trail. And with the last employer, I learned quite quickly to start documenting everything. And I did. And I continued documenting. And I was able to take all the information, copies, proof, emails, just, whatever I could come up with. I had a file folder thick, full of information to take. However, you can do all this, but it depends on how far it's going to be taken, Sabrina.
Mm-hmm.
My information that I had should have stopped this individual in their tracks. It was supposed to go to the DPP's office, which I'm told it did go, but then it was sent back to the officer at WORC because they needed more information. And then I was told that it was never returned to the DPP's office, but the officer informed me that they were taking a different route. Why were they taking a
Ooh.
different route? I have no idea. I have no idea.
Hmm.
So then when I contacted, it was 3 different departments I spoke to.
Mm-hmm.
2 of the departments had no idea what I was speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
After I was to go to those 2 departments, they had no idea what I was speaking about, the person I was speaking about, the company I was speaking about. It was very frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
It took months and months and months, and I was the one doing all the paperwork. I was the one chasing down whoever I needed to chase down to try to get information. What was taking place? Where are we at this point? What's the holdup? What more information is needed?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, this person got a slap on the wrist and a small administrative fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the person got.
Which doesn't
Now,
deter them from bad behavior.
there is no record. This is the character. If it does not go to court,
Right.
there is record of the employer breaking laws of the Cayman Islands. Now, this is not even a Caymanian.
Mm-hmm.
It's an Indian national. Whether or not he's got his Cayman status now, he says he does. I have no idea. I can't get that. And I reached out to try to find out what do I have to do to see if this person has status or not.
Mm-hmm.
But the abuse that goes on, and it's not just with this one individual. I know of several individuals, employers, that are abusing their employees still to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm irate by it. It's very, very upsetting that anybody, because I wasn't doing this for myself.
Right.
When I put in this information about this employer, I was doing it for all the employees. And I said to the employees, I will fight tooth and nail. I am not afraid of this individual. I begged this man to come using man is a lightly too, because he's no man in my eyes. I begged him to come and face me face to face, man to man. And he would not show his face for months.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, and I even said on the show, it's on CMR, to this day, I still have not seen this man face to face.
Oh, wow.
That's since 2024, the end of March. Because he hides. He's not only hidden from me, he's hidden from another employee's husband who's Caymanian, who wanted to see him face to face, and he hides other people. And this is the type of people that are here in Cayman. Not only Caymanians, I know there's a few Caymanian employers, but these people that come here from other countries and think that they can do what they do to employees is outrageous, and it has to stop. I don't know what we have to do. I don't know who we have to speak to. I don't know what laws have to be changed, but something has to change.
Well, first we have to empower the workers. And as you rightfully did, you did everything right. You documented everything. You obviously have some insight of knowing what your rights are with the necessary laws that are here. You knew exactly where to report it. You went through the right process, but then it looks as though the system, the process failed you. What we need to then look at is where is the breakdown from within? Because go ahead.
Let me see. When I went to the Department of Labor, that was one of the first places I went to. They told me they couldn't do anything. The employee that's going through it has to come and file the complaint or file the grievance themselves. I said they're afraid. I have all the proof. I have the documentation. I have the bank transfer of this man making an employee pay back his work permits. I have information that another employee was paying her work permit fees. I had all the information, but the Department of Labor would not do anything because I was not the victim.
Oh, wow.
But I'm speaking up and speaking out on their behalf. Now, if you have that information, why wouldn't they take that? Why wouldn't they document that? They would not look at anything in my file that I brought with me to the Department of Labor and Pensions office. A friend of mine who's Caymanian turned me on to somebody at WORC. Interestingly enough, I knew the officer at WORC.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that turned me to another officer who handled the case.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as I'm concerned, the case was not handled fairly. To this day, no employees received their monies back.
Oh, wow.
Their withholding of their last paychecks. A couple of them did not get vacation pay. The ones that had to pay back their work permits,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't get their full overtime pay. They didn't get their full hourly pay
Mm-hmm.
because his girlfriend was the one doing the timekeeping, and it was set up where the minutes worked were not included. So after 2 weeks, those minutes add up to hours, and they weren't paid those minutes.
OMG.
And this was going on, and it's been going on and on for I don't know how many years
Mm-hmm.
that he's been running business. This is what I don't know what I do to help,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm willing to help anybody. I'm willing to stick up for anybody. I'm willing to fight for anybody as long as it's on the right side of the track.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So just in regards to the entire process that you went through, your biggest disappointment or challenge that you see is what? So that persons who are actually experiencing this right now and are scared to speak up, because as one commenter said, it's not just Caymanians that are suffering. And this is not just a nationality thing. We're just speaking broad brush. But yes, I agree. Some of the most persons that are suffering under the hands of these unscrupulous employers are persons who are on work permits. And they know that a lot of these persons are depending on their livelihoods, on their salary, and they can be taken advantage of much more easier because they're depending on that income and that work permit facility in order to provide for themselves here, and of course by extension their family back home. So what would you think, what would you say, based on your personal experience and all experiences that you have gone through, is the biggest disappointment thus far, or where would need improvement with the DLP?
Okay, Sandra, let me just say first. Sabrina, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Every employee was on a work permit, including his girlfriend.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Every employee work permit. I am not on a work permit. I don't have to have a work permit. That's the reason I wasn't afraid to speak up and stand up to the man.
Mhm.
Number one, he took advantage of every employee, including his own family member.
Hmm.
Blood, his own family member. Okay, so the frustrating part for me, well, first I'm going to back up. Everybody needs to read the labor law, digest the labor law. And when I say digest the labor law, understand the labor law.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people don't understand the labor law. And if you don't understand the labor law, find somebody to explain the labor law for you.
Mhm.
You need to have a support. You need people that are willing to support you in the process. Make sure you understand what you need to do before you can do anything, because you cannot do anything without proof.
Yes.
The Department of Labor and
Mhm.
Pension,
Mhm.
okay, if a person, an individual, has proof of an employer taking advantage, what I call abusing their employees,
Mhm.
and you bring all the information, you should not be turned away. You should not be told, "Oh, there's nothing I can do," without them making filing the grievance. That I think is wrong. If you have the proof that an employer is taking advantage of employees, the documented proof, then why are you turned away? That's what I didn't like to begin with.
Mhm.
The Department of Labor and Pensions.
Right.
And then again, the departments are not, what's the word I'm looking for, when the Department of Labor and Pensions and WRC, the computers aren't, where you can look up a grievance from the Department of Labor and Pensions if you're talking to somebody at work.
Mhm. Mhm.
So all I can say to employees, and the other thing is, let me back up again, Sabrina. The other thing is, if you go in and you make a complaint You have to write out the information for the Department of Labor and Pensions. You're basically letting them know that it's okay for them to contact your employer. Wrong, 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 and wrong.
Right. You're supposed to be protected.
The employee is not protected. The employee is not protected under the laws of today. They're not protected. It's all about the employer, and it's he said, she said, because then they call you up, the employee and the employer, you sit across the table and you discuss or hash out your grievance. So right then and there, the employee is going to be harassed. The employee is going to be shunned. The employee is not going to get a work permit renewed. The employee is going to get a letter written to immigration, so they can't get another work permit. It's crazy. It's just, I'm not just saying this for expats either.
No, you're speaking in general.
I'm speaking for everybody on the behalf of every employee out there. I've run a business. I know how to treat. And if you treat your employees right, your employees are going to take care of you and your business. 9 out of 10. But when you micromanage, you constantly are abusing people, and it's not a matter of physical abuse. Verbal abuse is far reaching in the workplace than anything else.
Right.
And I don't know what I can do.
Well, you're doing it right here, Jim, and we are going to continue to hammer this home. And this, I love topics like this, and I love the engagement, the feedback that we're getting. We're getting a lot of comments coming through, and the Cayman Brack site continues to keep coming up, Jim. And Kimar says that that's the similar thing that is taking place in the Brack High School. Is like, we are here on a prison sentence here, and it's coming from the two big company, which is Arch and Godfrey, and the works. Arch and Godfrey and the works and the project manager from McAlpine. So it looks as though this is very topical, and they are calling, they're reaching out for help. And it's like, they don't feel as though anybody's paying them any mind, and there's no accountability. And what staff are actually experiencing over there, it's almost inhumane.
It's also, I hate to say it, but it's true. It's not what you know, it's who you know. In high places.
Yes.
Fortunately, if you have certain contacts and you can get things taken care of behind the scenes.
Yes.
In these departments, it's happening. Sabrina, I'm willing to be very transparent. If they want to push me off the island out of Cayman, push me off the island out of Cayman. I have a place to go. I have plenty of places I could go, but I choose to be in Cayman. I don't have to be here. And I've been welcomed here, and I welcome the Caymanians here. I mean, being welcomed here by the Caymanians.
Right.
I've been here 30 plus years.
Oops. What did I do? There we go.
Like,
yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Jim.
A lot of the things in Cayman that are changing that I don't like seeing. But again, what can I, as an individual, do to help people in situations? I feel like, I have a calling since this last employer and employment, and that was my complete life. This career was my complete life. And this one individual tried to screw it up for me in the industry. Thankfully, I've known the people long enough that he didn't get away with anything trying to attack my character. But I feel now I am here to do something.
And you're doing it. And we thank you for sharing, to be honest.
To help people in these positions.
Yes.
But again, they need to get to the revised labor law, read it, understand it, make copies of everything. You have to have a receipt.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of receipts, and the more receipts you have, the better off you are.
Right.
And if the employer tells you something, ask them, may I have it in writing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you have proof. Don't believe anybody, when they speak anymore. You can't believe anybody when they speak anymore.
You have to have a paper trail, and that's what a lot of people are lacking. And yeah, so the key here for the workers who actually building a case, they need to keep a detailed log of, like in this case, for hours if they're being screwed over with not being paid the right thing, and save all communications, including pay stubs and written contracts and so forth, especially during the time that they're sick, especially if they get a doctor's note. And then compare their pay slips with that. But again, where they are during the life of their employment with that organization, whether or not they're on probation or not. You understand what I'm saying? But if in the particular case that I'm referring to, the individual is not on probation, and it's like their illness is actually being used against them, and they're told you're not getting paid unless you show up here on the job site, and that is against the law.
You have personal time.
That's against the law.
That's the law. I even have personal time because it's banned with.
Yeah.
Can I jump in quickly, Sabrina?
Sure.
Hello. Speaking of the Bronx School, I just wanted to provide, by way of an announcement, that tomorrow the government is actually having a press briefing. Not tomorrow, my apologies, Friday. They're having a press briefing at 11 o'clock on the Cayman Bronx School, and it's going to be an update. So perhaps everyone can tune in. We'll certainly be streaming that on CMR. So if everyone wants to tune in, if they will be taking questions, I won't be here, but Sabrina, perhaps you can feel free to jump in on the Zoom call and ask the question about reports of serious labor breaches and labor complaints, and who is actually overseeing that.
Okay. Yeah.
Just wanted to say that, but I've been listening very, very intently to the show for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, that's an excellent idea, and I'll definitely be listening in. And if they allow questions, as Sandra said, then we can definitely put this up. But yeah, Jim, leave me there. I have another caller on hold, but thank you so much. And go ahead.
Let me just say this, Sabrina. You have to make sure that the employer is providing those pay slips. You have to make sure you have a contract. You have to make sure you have all this stuff that you're supposed to have in place when you begin a job and while you're working for the employer, because this employer that I'm speaking of didn't do any of that.
Mm-hmm. And that's right there in contravention of the law. That's a breach of the law.
That's why I'm saying
it says it in the law, the responsibility of an employer and how their bookkeeping and all of that sort of stuff is there. So yeah.
And by the labor law, why did he only get a slap on the wrist and a small fine? This should have been taken out of business and never be granted another business license. That's what should have happened to him.
Right.
But it didn't. And again, there's no record of it. So if he's filing for status, or if he's gotten status, no record of his scrupulous business practices was even showing.
Right.
So, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Definitely. No, anytime. I mean, I'm hoping that people can understand that you're an advocate for this, just like we are here. We are making sure that we inform and we educate, and more than likely I will probably bring up the labor law and break that down and dissect that into little pieces so that we can educate and inform. Yep. And
I'll be more than happy to help anybody any way that I am able to.
Yep.
By law, if they need it.
Yes, I'm going to commit to not this week, next week, do a show on the Labor Act, and we can break it down and we can go through and we can let people know what their rights are as what the employer's responsibility should be and what the employee's entitled to. So yeah, we can look at that from both sides of the fence. So I'll commit to that for one show out of next week.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Take care, Jim.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good evening, Miss Shelma. Thank you for holding.
Good evening. I said Mr. Jim is 200% right with everything he say. He need 3 kabooms.
Well, we can do it. We can do it.
3 kabooms he needs. And I need to ring a bell and blow a
Where
horn.
is your bell?
people, but it's some expats that come here that get papers too. Because I speak of a certain person that was doing my yard, and he is a foreigner. But and you see, like Mr. Jim said, why the poor people are afraid to go, because they don't understand some of the situations that these poor people come out, that they would do, they need. And like I always say, I wouldn't want to be rich, that I don't know what to do with money, but I would want to be that anything I need, I could do it without. But thank God, I know the worst off. At least I got raw Peter to pay for, but I can still. But people do understand the deplorable condition that some of these poor people come out of. That's why they would take any crop to do what they got to do to try to survive. And I feel, and at least Mr. Jim Song, like he's still got a heart. He's a good man. God to bless him. Because I feel the same way he feels. Because sometimes when I see some advantages taken, I say, God, people got a black heart, a daughter heart, because I know like that. And I can give one little situation. The guy that used to do my yard first, he is a nationality. I'm not going to call on him, but them guys he had were good guys. Because one of them still here. And I give him recommendation. He working with another gardening company. And they were good guys. And I had to tell him, that's why he would talk to me and he would do my yard. I had to tell him, I say, boy, I say, you come here. You know what poorness was, but because you married a Cayman and you got papers, why? I said, then your own nationality and from the same part that he was from. I said to do him like, I said, no, boy. I said, you're not ready. And I tell him, and he even struck one of the guys. Hit his employee. And I tell him, I say, you lucky because if that with me, I would have bust your mouth. They would have feed you on drip. I tell it to him. I said, man, you is wicked. That's why I don't want him. He tried to speak to me and I cursed him out so bad one day about like we friends out by force. I said, man, with friends like you don't need no enemies. And he tried to do all kind of.
Oops. There we go. Sorry. Hold on.
But yes, what Mr. Jim said is true. And then it's not about for you to go through because Labour Board do even speak. And then stuff, like how he said it wouldn't give him no information on nothing. And he had proof. Things that they should give information on, they won't give. And then other things that they should keep private confidential, they're willing to give it. So and now what you know is who know you. These things are going on long time. And that's the thing that hurts my heart. That hurts my heart.
Well, we're hoping that today, airing it here, and persons will, once we share the information, they will get the strength.
Some of the employees sometimes.
Yeah.
Employers are, some of them are real, but not everybody. Like they say it's good and bad in every nation. But plenty of people, I know plenty of people, because plenty of them come crying to me, going home with hardship, and they do them all kind of things, and they're making them pay for a permit, which that's not true, not shouldn't be, and taking up all kind of money out their thing, and some of them working for peanut money. Trying to hard to buy peanut. I guess that peanut expensive now too.
But the sad thing is,
and I think everybody's human. Everybody, like you said, everybody got to eat yesterday. And yes, and everybody loved ones is precious to them. So it should be something. What good goose should be good for the gander. It shouldn't be a one-way street. It should be a street. They're doing plenty of people suffering wrong. But I keep saying, Lord, I'm glad when I come here. I never had to go through that. Let me tell you, when I come here, I was so good that Mr. Boss stopped. I didn't even have to get a permit. He told me just go work wherever you can find a job, but just make me know where you were working. And I never had no people to treat me like that. I must say.
Thank you for sharing with us.
With people.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, caller. We have one comment here, and I'm going to try to keep up with these comments. It says, another issue by Joyce Ann, another issue we have is a lot of the businesses are open in someone else's name, but the businesses is ran by another person. They bring persons from their countries to take out work permits, and that person runs the business. They, in return, treat other employees bad. The person that takes out the business license, in turn, gets a site from, I guess, a sight from the business, especially in the salons, electronic business, cleaning companies. This is taking away from the real business owners. Well, to be honest with you, the spotlight was on the construction industry, but I know for a fact some of the beauty salons are really treating staff unfairly as well. They have these things called rent-a booths, and it is rampant in the salon industry, where you pretty much, if you don't work, you don't get pay. And even when you work, it's a 60-40 deal. You get 60% goes to the employer, 40% goes to the employee. But if the employee does not have any customers, then guess what? The employee goes home with nothing. And that is something as well that is rampant in the salons. And that's from hair straight to nails. And I'm glad you brought that up, because this is something that is rampant out here. And it is not a secret. But these people who come here to look a better living, and they're just taken advantage of by their employers, which means that what they're declaring on their work permits are not true. That's something else as well. So the only way of us being able to police this, set aside for employees who are scared to speak out, because as what was described here, with how the Department of Labor and Pensions, it is said by you who have participated, how they're treating people probably needs to change. And the more we can educate you here on this platform, the more informed and prepared that you can also be. And I'm hoping that that will build your confidence then to trust the system and the process. But what happens, as Jim alluded to, when you do it all right, and it's as though the very same system that is there to hold people accountable protects those who are in breach of laws. And Joyce Ann also says this is happening in the gardening companies as well. So Denver weighs in on the comment about the salons. Many of those beauty salons should be shut down. I believe MP Michael Miles working on such. Well, whoever is working on it, we need accountability. We need accountability from anybody to make sure that it stops. And this is why I think it is important to actually highlight the labor law, to let you know what the responsibilities are of your employer. That's the first thing. You need to know what your employer is responsible for in accordance to law. And when I started, I stated, what does an unscrupulous employer look like? And I said, they look like this. If they fail to provide written employment contracts, so your contract is not your approved work permit. No, that's a license by the government of the Cayman Islands to say that you have a legal work permit facility so that you can engage in gainful occupation in this country, meaning you can work for that company, that employer, and it's agreed what is declared on that application form that you take home as a salary. When you and your employer sign that work permit application form for the submission to government, that is your declaration that it is agreed between you, the employee, and the employer that everything that they have outlined on the employer side that will have pension and salary especially, and medical insurance is going to be fulfilled. For the industry, as we're alluding to, where we're talking about the gardeners and the beauticians and the nail techs and all of those persons, if you sign an application form, and on that application form says you are going home, just pulling a number out of the hat, with $1,200 a month, unless it's approved by the Labor and Pensions Department that you work for anything other than what is declared on that application form, your employer is in breach of the law. You should be able to show pay slips where whether or not you have a customer for a week or 2 weeks, that you go home with at least per month what is declared on that work permit application form. If the terms and conditions of what was declared on that work permit application form differs in reality, you have a case. So when you get those application forms for work permits and they say just sign the employer side, it's okay. Part 2 for the employer, that's all right. I will fill that out afterwards. Red flag. You want to see what is being declared on the employer side too, because there's a portion on that work permit form that both you and the employer signatures are on the same page. I almost want to feel like Sandra now. Students, listen up. There's a reason why both employer and employee signatures are on that specific page. And if you read and if you can't understand or you have limited understanding, I am quite sure there are others in your immediate surroundings that can break that down to you. But in addition to filling out that application form, that's a declaration to the government. Separate inside of that, there's also a contract. Go ahead, caller.
I say me again, in speaking of beauty salons, there's another mess. Let me give you this little story, and I'm going to chuckle on this one. My friend, and I'm going to call no name of the salon because I'm not going to know where it is, but she went, and this is true, is God died for sinners. If you think a lying, I can take it to the person. She went to this salon, and we didn't know why they put in her hair. But let me tell you, her hair was stiff. I don't know what to describe it as. I said, she's up there. Then it started dropping out on the side and spots. And I said, but girl, what it is, she had to go to a barber, listening to her, because she used to go to barbers to cut her hair and listen to her sister about, what are you going to barber for? What are you try a beauty salon? And that was the biggest nightmare she made. And then she had to go to a barber and cut her hair off, bob it like man. And that spot, I didn't know what was they put in her hair, but that spot, you would have still feel it stiff. It was hard. I used to touch it and laugh her. Then I used to go to just tease her. So they need to check them too. And yes, Joyce answered about in the gardening, well, the gardening service was who I was speaking to. And they still, and they got plenty of work when they started. They had my yard. They had my mother-in-law yard. They had my sister-in-law yard. They had Roderick yard down here. They had James yard. All of them yards, they get to me. And that's how he treat them guys. And them guys are good guys, and the two I'm still have because I rate recommendations that with Marion's sister that got gardening service, and the next guy named Chris, and he was another one. He was trying to put him off the island, trying to write letter into immigration about him, and I gave him recommendation because they were good gardeners, and he was paying and hating them, but because they're from St. Mary, like where he from, and like. I call in the name now, but in the person, by how he married to Cayman, he actually was married to one and divorced her and married another one, but because he got started, that's how he was treating his own St. Mary like dog, like dirt, like crap.
Right. Yeah.
And that is true. I'm not going to lie, a song, that is true. And anybody that think I lie, I can bring the guys to the still. And actually, one of them guys tell me, or two of them, anything that they see me on the road, and I got bags, or they called me mommy. They thank me for how I helped them, because if I left to him, the immigration would probably believe him, because none of us to go to labor immigration and just like when I say, it's not who you know, it's who know you.
Yeah.
And this one says school that, and then they pull in this string, and the next one pull in the next string, and I just how it go favoritism. Things can be bought in the island.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for that. I'm going back to one of these. I got another message is that the issue is many of these are getting screwed rather than deal with, because it often means having to return home if they complain, fight, or report the unscrupulous employer. And you're quite right. Many of them, their families depend on the income that they're making here. And many of the employers know that they actually hold a handle, but not if we supposed to have laws here that actually stop that from happening. But you got to make sure that these employers, that the agencies that are responsible for upholding the law and enforcing the law are actually doing what they're supposed to do. Another comment here is a next thing, persons will approach you to take out work permits and they pay for it. I let them know that I don't do such a thing as that. These are things, causes crime when there is no work. You're quite right, Ms. Joyce-Ann. You have employees who find themselves either that they got a work permit to initially get them entry into the Cayman Islands, and then for whatever reason, they can't continue their employment, but they're already here. They will actually go around as their own employment agent and try to source persons out who could take out work permits for them. But the trade-off is, because they're so grateful for you as a potential employer, willing to take on the liability, because it is a liability for everybody who has. And I don't think employers understand that, the liability that you take on when you employ someone by way of a work permit. That can be from a gardener, a nanny, a caregiver, a domestic helper, a construction worker in a limited liability company. Worse, if you're a sole trader. If you are a sole trader, you are taking on personal liability for every person that you have working under your trade and business license. Let me break that down. If I have a construction company that is called Sabrina's Building More, whatever, and it is Sabrina Turner trading as ABC Construction. Because I am a sole trader, I'm a sole trader, and I take out work permits as a sole trader, not a limited liability company. Do you realize that for every work permit granted under me as a sole trader, that I have taken on personal responsibility for every work permit holder that I have under that trade and business license? You may ask, what does that mean? It means even when you are not doing my duty, even when you are off duty, as my employee, I am responsible for you on that approved work permit. So you go out, you get injured, you go shopping, you get knocked down, I am responsible for you. You go out on a boat cruise, can't swim, and you drown, I'm responsible for repatriating your body back home. It's no different if I was a limited liability company. Once that company is the holder of your work permit, whether or not you're on or off duty, you become the liability of your employer, whether or not you're on or off duty. Let that sink in. So for all of you bad actors as employers out there, even if you do not pay, which you are in breach of the law, for those persons working for you, as long as you are the holder of their work permit, be it friend or foe, you are legally responsible for that individual. And guess what? If I like you because you're my friend, and I take out a work permit for you just to help you out, but you go out there and you freelance at my expense, and the relationship between me and you break down and I cancel your work permit, do you know under legislation, it should be my responsibility to make sure that you exit this country, because guess what? Your last point of employment would be with me. Again, let that sink in. There is actually, and I found here while I was listening to Miss Shelma, there is a dissatisfaction of service complete form link that is actually under the Department of Labor and Pensions website, and I will post it here. It's not a link per se. It comes out with a whole heap of codes. I'm going to paste it here. If you have dealt with the DLP, the Department of Labor and Pensions, and you're not satisfied with the level of service that you have gotten, this is the form. Here we go again, Jim, a form that you fill out to cast or to make a complaint. It's uploading. And I got that straight from the Department of Labor and Pensions website. So their website is there. It's under the Cayman Islands government. It's the Department of Labor and Pension. And I know that's a whole heap, but that's supposed to be a live link that should actually bring you to a form. And it needs like a token from what I'm understanding. But this again, ladies and gentlemen, or students for this space, is why we're saying that it's so cumbersome. And some actually say, but Miss Sabrina, it is so frustrating. It is like they frustrate the system. It's like they make the system so complex that it turns me off from even wanting to go to complain. And that shouldn't be. You should be included or accommodated for once you have a legitimate complaint. But again, we understand that a lot of you are fearful to complain or to make complaints even when you have the right of law in your hand, because your lights, your rent depends on what little shillings, what little crumbs you actually get. But I am here to tell you that if you're on a work permit, you have the right to ask for a copy of your application and look at part 2 of the application form and see what was declared as your salary, be it bi-weekly, meaning every 2 weeks, per month, per hour. And that is what you should be going home with. Any other agreements made, both of you as employer and more so the employee, are in breach of the laws of the Cayman Islands. But I understand a lot of you are placed in unfortunate positions, but it speaks a lot about this jurisdiction when we know that this is happening and people are fearful of going to one of the very own government agencies that are there to uphold the laws of this jurisdiction, and people are not feeling that they're satisfied with the level of service and confidentiality that they're being handled, how they're being handled. There's no dignity. People are feeling there's no confidentiality. And what was described by contributors calling into the show, that you're actually turned away in some cases. That is not who we are. That is not what is being projected based on the services that are provided by the Cayman Islands government. And that is the operational arm that I'm referring to. That is not who we are. And if there are laws to be upheld and you don't feel like you are being given the due care and attention, and you have prepared yourself to file a complaint, and you don't feel that you are being treated fairly, then I'm sorry. There should be a higher power that you go to in order to report that, and you shouldn't be fearful. And it saddens me to know that some of these stories that I have been able to shed a light on today has been going on for years, over 2 decades. I started back in immigration in 1994, and I ran my own independent business, which I've always dealt with the employers, but some of the stories that you hear in hindsight afterwards, it's just heart-wrenching. It's really heartbreaking. Denver Douglas is saying, and that's a huge issue with the liability of companies. They fire people, people leave jobs, and they're responsible for their repatriation when services is terminated. And you know what, Denver, you're quite right. And even if you terminate them, as long as they remain here until they get another work permit, their previous employer is responsible for them. Oh, yeah. Remember back in the day, they used to have the repatriation fee on a work permit that was based on where you came from, that should have been able to cover a ticket to repatriate you back home. That's no more. The repatriation fee is one and same for all nationalities. Doesn't matter where you're from. And that's something too in the great immigration reform that needs to be looked at. And
Okay.
be real with what these repatriation fees should be. Because I can remember back in the day, if you were hiring, for example, a Filipino national, the repatriation fee for that nationality was like $2,000. Jamaica, because of the close proximity, was $150. But then that got diluted down because they were cheaper labor. And look at where we are now. Caller, you're free to call back unless I hit the nail on the head there for you, which would be a silver, like I saw the future, did I? But yeah, so these are some of the things with the great reform that we're planning that needs to be looked at. Because if we're talking about it, let's be real. Understanding the responsibility of an employer applying for a work permit, they're responsible for the repatriation, be it you are alive and you can't find a job, or God forbid, you have to be sent back home to your family, your remains. That's what a repatriation was for. Your live caller.
Hey, Sabrina, it's Jim again.
Hey, Jimbo.
I wanted to say this is another thing that was concerning to what they're talking about, changing the labor law for employees when it's not going to be where you can just up and leave a job. You know, you're locked in. Is the abuse. What do these people do if they do change that law? What do employees do?
Public discussion. I love it. Yeah.
They're stuck.
Yeah.
They're stuck where they have to leave and they have to quit and return to their homeland.
Well, again, we go into enforcement. And if, let's say, and God forbid, I just hope it's balanced. Let's say that makes it in the law. Let's hope then that people will not be fearful of going to the Department of Labor and Pensions and saying, look, I understand this is the law, but this is what I am subjected to. This is how I'm being treated, and that they will act on that. Otherwise, we're looking into human rights breaches. So you think it's only labor law that's going to be entangled in all of this? It's a delicate balance, Nick. Jim.
That's okay. I've been called worse.
Where the hell did Nick come from? No, I know what. I saw, I need to really change these glasses. Dina, hurry up. But yeah, but Jimbo, it is quite interesting because, and I hope that we're able to look at it full circle and realize where that in itself could definitely imprison staff unfairly.
Right. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks again.
Thank you, Jim. See, Connie defending you, Jimbo. She said, hi, Jim. She's laughing.
Come on, let's party.
Two of you or something else. Oh, gosh. George, what are you saying? If you do not understand the labor laws, you shouldn't be employed. Yeah, that's true, George, but that's why we're here. And I gotta be honest with you, George, some of the people come here under good intentions, and you don't expect that your employers with these beautiful billboards and some of the organizations, OMG, and then how they treat their staff is totally different from really who they portray to be. And some people are naive. And you don't know. And some people are honestly just petrified. They're in a new country. They don't know. And that's why sometimes they actually stay within their pockets. But look here now, George, you open up another topic. What if based on your nationality's network, because you know we have organized groups, we got cells, and they actually are a part of the recruiting process to get you here for a better life. You could be imprisoning yourself just based on those terms and conditions as well. So we got a bigger issue here, and it's good to just shine the light on it, which is what I said at the opening of this show, that we're drawing back the curtains to make it very obvious. We're not coming after any government agency. We're highlighting it to you to say, look, that this is an issue, but real lives are being impacted. Every case that is overlooked, every case that is reported and is being scuffed at, that is someone who's in breach of the law. And that is not the reputation that we have in our beautiful Cayman Islands. Repatriation fees was also to help sending, home of bodies. Yes, if the permit holder died while here. You're quite right. Connie, Jim, false promises. Yes. So these are realities of what we're facing here in the country. And I'm hoping that the links that I was able to share there with you would help you actually have some faith in the system, to be honest with you. And I am hoping that persons from the Department of Labor and Pensions will just see the forest for the trees with this platform. I am not coming at you. I am doing what I'm asked to do. I am making it public knowledge as to what's happening, because if people feel that they are not able to come to your department and they're handled with dignity, with confidentiality, then I think we have a problem. And if understaffing is an issue, if the ability to deal with proper case management to hold some of these people accountable and possibly get them before a court is a problem, you're doing a budget now. Put in budget for training so that your staff can upskill themselves a little bit more on case management of files. This is by no means being sarcastic. It's an honor to be a civil servant. I was once there. It is a noble role to hold, to be in the civil service. But we also need to understand that that comes with a huge responsibility. Your soon-to-be outgoing deputy governor has worked hard with this branding of being world-class. And some of the services that are offered by the Cayman Islands government, they can only be accessed by your department. And this particular topic, saved by you going personally to retain the services of an independent lawyer, you are the front lines and the fighters to help our people. And that's even Caymanians who have been in positions where they have been in an environment with unscrupulous employers. I know that it is hard sometimes for you to execute your duties or separate your relationships, or even knowing some of these organizations that you all know are treating their staff badly, because we may be classmates, we may be bosom buddies, we may be friends, God forbid, maybe even family. But look at your responsibility in the execution of your duties and just look at it objectively and treat people with dignity. And I'm hoping that by means of airing light on some of these issues today and the realities, that for those employers who did not or may not understand what their responsibility is when it comes to applying for work permits, that maybe those favors in work permits, because you're a Caymanian, you just got to take out a work permit to help a friend, that you realize the liability that you're taking on. Because whether or not they're on or off the clock, the holder of that work permit, the organization that is the holder of that work permit, is legally responsible for them on and off duty. And I'm hoping that this is a stark warning and a reminder of those persons who are possibly making a business out of how much work permits you can take out, because each week your workers are paying you a dividend, that it stops today. And I'm hoping that each employee will be encouraged that if you're not getting the salary that is declared on your work permit, that you know you have the right to complain. That if you're in an organization where they're not providing you with pay slips, that you have a right to complain. That you have been paying your employer's trade and business license, that you know you have a right to complain. That you also know that that's against the law. Two wrongs don't make a right, but we have to start somewhere. And I agree with you, Jim. We do have a problem, but it starts with us. It starts with us. It starts with everyone who signs the contract and says, I am a civil servant. It starts with us. It starts with every Caymanian who applies for a trade and business and gets that trade and business approved. And now you can get them a dime a dozen, because once you're Caymanian, you don't even have to pay the fee. You get discounted rates, but know the liability that you're taking on. And many employers out there are in some high risk industries. They don't have workman's compensation. They don't have adequate insurance for their staff. And the risk of their employees is through the roof. But I hope today it stops here. I have done my best to create a level playing field. I'm not coming after no one organization, but I am here to report what is being reported to me. And we have a problem, it seems, in the BRAC. We have a huge problem on the BRAC. I don't know where the problem is derived, be it with the two major contractors, or whether the major issue is with the subcontractors, or is it both? But I need to educate everyone. And I'm going to make that my promise to you, that one day out of next week, I will put the spotlight on the labor law so that we can break it down. And it's not what Sabrina says, but I will break down the labor law so that both employer and the worker, the employee, knows their rights. Because the more you know, the better it is for everybody. And to me, it would make dealing with these cases that much more easier. Because if you have somebody coming in to make a complaint to the Department of Labor and Pensions, and they have followed what is required of them, it should make your case easier. That should be a walk in the park. But when they have done that, and you, alleged, get on the phone and say, yo, Joe, one of your employees just come here, you know, what's going on? They say this, and yo, these things that I see. And then guess what? There's a great chance they frustrate that employee's life. They probably cancel their work permit or tell them to stay home, make their position redundant, or tell them, oh, we're not doing, for example, clean services this week, or oh, we're not doing any masonry work this week, to get at you for standing up for your right. I hope you realize what that has caused and for what. When you're there to do your job, you're not there to take sides. That's what the law is for. That's what the Labor Appeals Tribunal is for. That's what the courts are for. Don't take sides. And because you know that these persons who are coming to your organization are actually, the high percentage of them is not from here. And how much unreported cases are actually in our community? It'll probably blow your mind, including Caymanians. Yeah, including Caymanians. We're bigger and better than that, but we all have a responsibility. And we even have a greater responsibility if we're in these roles within our government department. And I will continue to put the spotlight right here. And I will not stop. I will not stop educating you, because I feel the more educated society we have, the better outcomes we will have. But do not, I beg you, do not be intimidated by your employer. And I know some of you may say, yeah, but Miss T, you got it easy. You from here. I have a daughter trying to finish school. I may have school fees come January. Oh my God, it's September. I have to send this back home, trying to build on a room. I'm trying to put on a roof. What good is all of that if you work yourself to death? What good is all of that? But you have laws here. You really do. You do. And I just want to make sure that both sides know their rights. Out here, as a member of civil society, I have a duty. I made you that promise when I started this platform, thanks to cmrtv.com, that I would educate, inform, and yes, where your voices take center stage and they matter. That's why I do all of that preamble at the beginning. You think I'm just doing it because I want to talk? No, there's a reason for everything I do at the beginning of the show. But when it comes from an informed place, you can take that to the bank. And everything that I've shared here with you is on the public's domain. So when you see me look over here, I'm actually looking at different websites and I'm cutting and pasting and I'm putting it here in real time for you. Nothing that I said here today in regards to the processes, your rights as a worker, how you look at permits and how you sign is not, that's facts. They are all facts. So one commenter, and I'm still trying to figure out how I copy stuff and put it up here, but I'm getting private messages, well, not private messages, on the 9368255 number. And this commenter says, I think it would help to keep businesses in line if businesses' license are denied to employers who have been found in violation of labor laws. Commenter, I'm going to be very honest with you. That would be an excellent idea, but you got to nab them first. And it starts with the DLP. It starts with the DPP's office. So yeah, we have excellent ideas, but it takes the willingness of those who are there to enforce the laws in order to make that meaningful. We can sit here all day and bash our politicians. Our lawmakers, we can revise and amend every legislation that we have in this jurisdiction. If the operational arm does not uphold the same laws, you are flogging the wrong individuals. If the laws lack the teeth, it's your politicians. If they engage with the public, and bring these legislations forward, take your recommendations, which is why you have policy advisors, and they engage with you, the public, in order to put the proper legislation in place that is fair and balanced and not in breach of human rights and do not fall outside our Constitution. We don't have anybody else to blame but the operational arm, because it's for them then to go out and do their jobs and find these unscrupulous employers. But you can't do that if I'm not going to go on a job site or enter a business place because that's where I get my hair done or my wife get her hair done. It shouldn't matter. I got a job to do. That's what we have. Another issue as being a small island jurisdiction. You have to be able to separate your responsibilities of your job and what your job entails in order to uphold the law. And I hope that that is a resounding message to everyone. But most importantly, I hope this will cause persons to pause. If you know you are guilty of ill-treating your staff, be it construction, be it security companies, be it gardening companies, be it nail techs, be it hairstylists, be it hospitality industry, I hope that it would cause you to pause. But if you don't pause because you know we do not have the enforcement arm that is going to catch you and hold you accountable, or that, God forbid, I'll give you a gift certificate, you let it go away. I give you a weekend for 3, a weekend of 3, let it go away. They're disposable. I can bring in another one. That's okay. That one is just a troublemaker. We'll just make their lives a living hell. Doesn't matter whether or not they're Caymanian, permanent resident, or another work permit. Oh, platter from that country. We can get them a dime a dozen. You see where it continues to spiral? You see? We need to stop that today. And I'm hoping that this puts a light on it. And because I know we have great civil servants out there who will do it. Who will do it. Who it is an honor for them to go to work. I was once an enforcement officer, so I ain't speaking from a place of not knowing. And you can still enforce the law. You can still execute your duties and treat people with humility. I have been in positions where I've escorted prisoners who were released from Northwood Prison. In those days, Foster's Food Fair on Air Jamaica, I think, used to come in early in the morning. And especially if there was a female, I would go in the enforcement van. Those days we had the little blue van with the chicken wire. And it was the way that we dealt with those prisoners. I can recall one was a female, and she had a young child. And the morning we were going to that was the evening flight. Yeah, Air Jamaican days were late. And the amount of money that she made during the time that she was incarcerated, she asked if she could have stopped to just get some things to take home with her. In those days, we were doing it with heart. And I'll never forget it. There were some little bowls in Foster's those days, like for kids with a little spoon and stuff. And she picked up some Pampers and different little stuff, some female stuff, but she wasn't even worried about herself. She was more looking at taking something home for her young ones. And she went, those days they had a book stand, like you were going around. By the way, they had the pharmacy. This is Airport Foster's now, and the bakery those days. That's how long this was. And she saw some coloring books there, and she picked up some coloring books. That's dealing with people with dignity. And there's so much stories that I can share here with you. So you don't have to be out there bashing your batons and treating people like they're animals. You can execute your duty with humility and grace because that man above is not asleep. And the moral of all of that is to say, everyone messes up. But if you're willingly doing it, knowing that you're taking advantage of people, no good could follow you. But in the execution of your duty as a civil servant, please, I ask you to think of confidentiality. Think of the negative impacts, running your mouth, sharing of information unnecessarily, what damage that can do to not only your reputation, but the reputation of the very government agency that you're working with. So, oh my gosh, 7 o'clock. Ooh, I'm doing good. Jim, these abuses must stop. I agree with you. Jim Norris, amen. Miss Ebanks, Neilsha. Good show, Sabrina. Thank you so much. Perla, Miss Sabrina, I have a question. Are the work permit holder entitled to leave before they train another Caymanian? It all depends if that work permit holder was employed with a condition attached called a Regulation 6. But it's not mandatory for a work permit holder to train a Caymanian unless that was a condition to the approval of the work permit, or we don't know what agreement the employer or what's in the terms and conditions of the contract. Now, that's breaching or probably walking a fine line with working outside terms and conditions of the work permit. So Perla, that first part of your question is a little bit weird. If the work permit came with a approval condition that it's called a Reg 6, means you have to train up a Caymanian before you submit the renewal of that individual's work permit, then the answer is yes. But we could go down a rabbit hole with all types of scenarios. And you further said, because they won't do it. I overheard one said it, and they rather leave before they do this. They have a right. But like I said, Perla, if that issuance of that specific case that you're alluding to came with a Reg 6 condition, it's only the employee and the employer would know that that's the case, to be honest. And that means then that the person would be in breach of that condition, but who's going to prove it? So that's going to be interesting. Nalish, I hope Miss Ebanks, I'm going to just say Miss Ebanks. Perla R. Allen, they are not doing it. And even if they do, they will leave the company, says that they don't need that position. Yeah. And this is where, you know, when we talk about training of our locals, and I think the deputy governor alluded to that, to say that, you know, contracts would be entered into where the wording in it will say that you have to train up a Caymanian, be it for the 2 years, for the life of your contract. It's easy. If you are wanting to come and work in the Cayman Islands and one of the terms and conditions of your contractual agreement is that, look, I'm only going to have you here for 2 years, 3 years, whatever the term of the contract is. And one of the conditions of that contract baked in there is that you have to train a Caymanian during this time, because that Caymanian or that individual will be replaced, and they're once they have identified a person, then it is the right of that person to consider whether or not they want to continue with that employment process. And then who is there to double check if what they're training you is even legit? So there are a lot of anomalies with that, and we got to be careful with that, because there's a resentment in those persons saying that, yeah, we want you because we don't have the skill sets here in the Cayman Islands, but, you know, we're only going to want you, we're going to use you for 2 or 3 years. And then after you train our Caymanians, then you leave. It ain't nothing wrong with that. You know, you got to look at it in its totality. But then it takes an individual. You have some persons who don't care, who are retired maybe from where they're coming from and come with a special expertise. And I hope that the good doctor do not beat me up for this, but contrary to what people think, from the day the current CMO, Nick Gent, arrived in this island, the first thing he said to me as a minister, please help me find a Caymanian or Caymanians that I can train during my time, that they will be the replacers of me in this position. That man has said that on public platforms over and over and over. And that was when I knew me and you could be friends. Because one of the biggest things that I said during my tenure, succession planning must be obvious. And our Caymanians must see that pathway. We must see stories or opportunities where Caymanians in the workforce must see themselves aspiring, and the pathways should be there for them to do what it takes in order to one day reach the top. And that's where I raised my hat to that man. He was unapologetic at finding or making sure that during his tenure that a Caymanian would be trained to be placed in his position. What's going to happen? That's Section 55. I wish them all the luck. George Bodden, don't mind. I don't know what you were referring to. Michelle Campbell, this is very informative, Miss Sabrina. Thanks so much. Jim, any change to contract must be stated within that contract or a new contract, and both the employer and employee must sign it and date it. There we go. Jim has made a promise that he will definitely keep us informed, and he's willing to be an advocate, and he's even willing to be risk being thrown off here. As long as you don't commit a crime, Jim, they can't do you anything, my friend. But yeah, OMG, it is 5 minutes past 7, Sandra. Girl, thank you, Connie. But I know that we have heard a lot here tonight, and some of it wasn't easy to hear. And the stories that I could recall, and some of them being very relevant to what's happening right now, are hardworking people who are our friends, our neighbors, persons who will become like family. And these persons are honestly being exploited here. And it's a stark reminder that we can't take our economic success for granted. And that we have to look at our prosperity. Look at the very fact that our prosperity is built on the backs of workers. We're removing nationalities from this, because we know that there are certain skill sets we just don't have here. But our very own jurisdiction's prosperity is built on the backs of our workers. And every single one of them deserves to be treated with dignity and fairness. And to all of the employers who are doing the right thing, let me just thank you, because you are the backbone of a just and equitable society. Good evening, Calder. Shalma. Oh, Shalma.
Well, I'm gonna say they're gonna throw me and you off too, but don't worry. I'll carry you with me. But what Sabrina just said about that last individual that she just talked to that want a Cayman to train to take their job, please hurry, quick, train the Cayman. That's all I gotta say about that. I'm not going into no more details.
Okay, thank you.
Please hurry, train them. If you're not going yet, please, please, I need that. And Jim, if they throw you off me and you go in together, do all about that. I got a good place to go.
God dug it. Thank you so much, caller. Now, getting back, because I'm trying to wrap up here, I would be in breach of cbrtv.com and the next scheduled program as of the 1st of September. But, you know, what we actually prove here is that businesses can actually be profitable and compliant with all the laws here in the Cayman Islands, but you got to take greed out of it. You got to stop extorting people. You got to be fair. And we honestly need more employers to follow your lead. These are to the good employers. And to be honest with you, to the small majority of employers who choose the path of exploitation, that's the only word that comes to mind right now. Let me be clear that what you're doing really right now, what you're doing is not just unethical. It's darn right out illegal. And the Cayman Islands Labor Act of 2021 and other related laws, as I've alluded to earlier, from pension to health, are not just suggestions, you know. They're not just there. They're not just suggestions. They are the laws of our land. It is the reputation of who we are. And they exist to protect our workers, and those who break them should face the full weight of the law. Which brings me to this final point. And it is a clarion call to our government agencies. Please, I'm not coming after you. I'm making a clarion call. I'm being humble. I'm being the voice for the voiceless. It is a clarion call for the agencies and the departments of labor and pensions, enforcement, CBC officers. You guys are our front-line defense. And we need all of you to be more than just a place to file a complaint. We need you to be a powerful and visible force of enforcement that yields results. And we need more on-site inspections, much swifter investigation. And we need a more robust penalties that truly hold bad actors accountable. And the fare of consequences must be greater than the incentive to exploit. Because when you just get a pat on the wrist, a particular nationality is over there, one born here a second. Irreplaceable. So what? They're not going to miss you. That needs to stop. And the work of building a prosperous nation is honestly, in my humble opinion, a shared responsibility by everyone in this space. So this evening, as I wrap up, let's ensure that the foundation is not just built on exploitation, but it's built on fairness, respect, and justice for every single person who contributes to our beautiful country we call home. Don't make, because your eyes look funny, your hair is straight, and you this and that take away from the big picture. And I want to thank you for putting up with me. I want to thank you for your participation. And I want to continue to be a force, a space where you're safe, and a place where you can be informed, enlightened, as we work for a better Cayman society. Until tomorrow evening, please do have a good evening. For God's sake, go enjoy the rain. And I go and have me a cup of Milo, because boy, today we're rough. Until tomorrow. Love you. Take care. God bless.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.